That's
Good evening. I'd like to call the order the November 9th meeting of the Woodland Park Planning Commission. We've had a slight delay due to technical issues, but ready to proceed. So roll call, please.
Chair Hertzfield,
Here.
Vice Chair Brown,
Here.
Don DeZello,
Present.
George Jones,
here.
Ken Kennedy,
Here.
Larry Larson,
Here.
Sean Nielsen. Here. And our newest member, Cole Middleton.
Here.
Thank you.
Oh, Cole, welcome. Please join me with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And on our agenda, we have the approval of the minutes for October 12th, 2023. Any comments or corrections?
And one small item, and it appeared actually a few months ago, in another meeting, so we get the format going on. The chair's first name needs to be included in the list in the roll call at the beginning of the item, rather than just Chair Hartsfield.
Thank you, Lee.
But with that supplement, I move the minutes be accepted as proposed.
I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? There is. Excuse me. So our public hearings tonight, we have one on the agenda, one was told to be rescheduled, but our public hearing tonight is SUB 2023-06, Kings Crown preliminary plat, request by Terrace and Foley O'Malley, applicants for a preliminary plat of 11.3 acres into one lot. Staff, we have a presentation.
Yeah, CJ, before you go, let me just mention, some weeks back, a neighbor of mine who had received a notice sent me a copy of the notice by email. I responded back to him by email indicating that I couldn't discuss or receive information about the matter, and that he could come to the meeting or present in writing to the planning department, who would distribute among everybody. And so that was the end of it, but I checked with our planning director and she thought it'd be useful, just educational, nothing else to mention, the kind of response we do when these situations arise.
Thank you, Lee.
Great. Thank you. Again, this is a request for a preliminary plat of 11.3 acres to create one buildable lot. The subject property is located within the Top of Paradise Master Plan and is accessed off of Kings Crown Road. The property is zoned suburban residential, as you guys can see on the right-hand side of the slide. The subject property, as stated, the subject property is located within the Top of Paradise Master Plan. In 2005, the City Council approved the amended Top of Paradise Master Plan, which encompasses 197.7 acres, showing 175 lots and allowing up to 190 lots in the suburban residential zone district. The left-hand side of the slide is a snapshot of the master plan, which encompasses several subdivisions, including Forest Edge Park, 4th edition, Forest Edge Park first filing, Thunderbird Estates, and Paradise Estates filing 1, 2, 3, 8, 9, 10, and the newest, the Haven and Paradise. On the right-hand side of the slide is the subject property and how it was planned back in 2005. It was originally planned for 8 residential lots, but has officially never been platted. The applicants are requesting a preliminary plat approval for a 1-lot subdivision. The applicants must go through this process due to the Woodland Park Code, stating that a parcel must be a part of an official subdivision prior to receiving building permit. The applicants plan on submitting for a final plat once the preliminary plat is approved by City Council. This slide is the preliminary plat exhibit, which outlines the property lines of the 1-lot subdivision labeled Kings Crown subdivision. Staff reviewed section 17.20 of the municipal code when reviewing this application. The provision on the slide complies, and it is that the subdivider must submit a preliminary plat, and it must be done by a qualified individual. The preliminary plat must be true representation of the subdivision and to scale, and this does comply. The section provision on this slide is a long list of technical information required to be contained on the preliminary plat, which must be prepared by a licensed professional land surveyor. All criteria from this section has been reviewed by staff and does comply. If evidence of a geological hazard is present, then the subdivider needs to present that information to staff. The applicant did have a geostudy done and no hazards were found. This does comply. The rest of the provisions on the slide are not applicable because they do not pertain to this specific application. Again, on this slide, all provisions do not apply to this application, therefore they are not applicable. This application was referred to all parties on this slide. The application and this hearing was notified in the Pikes Peak Courier. A public notice sign was posted on the property, and abutting landowners within 150 feet were also mailed a letter. Staff only received one comment throughout this whole process, and it was from the City of Woodland Park Utilities Department, which stated that they are in support of the application. Staff's recommendation is that the Planning Commission recommend to City Council approval of the Kings Crown preliminary plat to plat 11.3 acres into one lot, subject to the following condition. Subject to recording a final plat for the subdivision. And condition number 2, prior to any construction on the subject property, the applicant must submit for and gain approval of a single-family residential zoning development permit through the City of Woodland Park Planning Department and a building permit through Pikes Peak Regional Building Department. This concludes my presentation, and please let me know if you guys have any questions.
Thank you, CJ. Council have questions?
I have a few.
Yeah, let's start with Larry then.
CJ, is this subdivision classified as a major or a minor subdivision?
We had a lot of talks about that as staff.
Well, never mind, don't answer it then.
As process goes, it is a major subdivision. Purely because they do have to go through the preliminary and final plat process. If it was a minor subdivision, they potentially could just go through the final plat process and not go through preliminary. But since there was no preliminary plat associated for this parcel, that's a process that these folks had to go through.
Okay, very good. For the top of Paradise Master Plan, are there any areas in that area that are still unplatted?
You know that off the top of your head?
I believe so, and actually, if you go to the area map, like a zoning map, or I forget which slide it was, CJ. So directly northeast up there, that's the Haven at Paradise. There is other land, yeah, about where his
Like
mouse
right
is, that is also unplatted, that or potential future filings.
Okay.
So, and there may be more, but I know there's some right there.
Are
So
they owned by any, like this particular applicant or any other applicant, or are they just?
other applicants,
Other applicants, okay.
there's at least one other,
Okay.
at least one other party.
Yeah, I had a couple of, one of the first of which is following up perhaps on Larry's point. Can you confirm it? I would understand that this essentially detaches this master plan from the balance of the master plan. What I would not want to have happen is that 8 lots become 1 here, and that means that the part that's left can add additional lots while maintaining density. The remaining portion of the master plan, I would understand, stays as is. These 8 lots become 1, and I say it doesn't change density elsewhere in the undeveloped portions, which is, I believe, are as Karen indicated.
If somebody wanted to do something like that, excuse me, it's just incredibly dry that I have a hard time talking. If somebody wanted to deviate from the current master plan, as we saw with the Haven of Paradise, they would need to request an amended preliminary plat. There is a potential somebody could apply. That doesn't mean the commission or city council would ultimately grant that approval. It would be reviewed in the whatever context there is at that point in time.
Okay, I guess that's fair.
It would be a standalone application at the end of the day.
So would you actually amend the master plan showing that there's not 8 lots there anymore and it'll be 1?
We did not talk about that for this particular property in terms of, requiring a change to the master plan. So the only thing you have in front of you this evening is this preliminary plat application.
Yeah, I wouldn't consider it to be inconsistent with the existing master plan. If a portion of 8 lots, in fact, were combined in 1, it just means that the number of lots within the area of the master plan is dropped by 7.
And generally, master plans are not that specific to show the lots.
Exactly,
So the residential.
exactly. They're intentional. The other one, actually, if you bring up your last slide, CJ, I'm just gonna ask. No, not the last one in your presentation. The recommendations. Yeah, it seemed a little odd to me. We recommend approval of preliminary plat subject to recording of a final plat. I mean, preliminary plat always has to come before a final plat. If the final plat never, at what point, 6 months, a year, 10 years, 20 years, if the final plat hasn't been approved, does the preliminary go away? Or I mean,
There-
eventually it will, but I'm not sure what it means to be subject to a final plat.
I can't, I will say that in the code, there is a time limit on preliminary plats, which is why you periodically see extensions. Yeah, 2 years. And yeah, if
And-
you all are uncomfortable with that, certainly delete that condition.
Yeah, and the second one, I mean, I guess it's not, there's nothing exactly wrong. It's informatory, but it's not really, it's not a condition of the preliminary plat, but in point of fact, before you can build, you need to get ZDP and building plans. That's standard for any plat. So it occurs to me, we don't really need to have the conditions. We could, the bold type is really sufficient for the commission to can consider after hearing other comments, of course. Is that? So, yep. Okay, those are my only thoughts for the moment. Thank you.
Bill Larson, do you have any other comments at this time?
Yes, I do. Thank you. And the chairman. By any chance, did the city parks advisory review this?
No, sir. So by code, we have, when the final plat, when we receive the final plat by code, we do have to route that to the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board.
Okay,
So they'll comment and give you all recommendation at that time.
okay. And I also assume that this particular lot, is it classified as a hillside lot? Because is any, the area included within the 30%? Yes, it is. So I assume this is a hillside lot as well.
It's a large enough parcel. So there is, as you can see from the picture we pulled back up on the screen, there's a lot of buildable area. But there is the shaded areas that have more significant slopes. So I'm not sure how to answer that, since there is such a large area that is buildable, that it just has a hilly element to it, but it's not like the whole lot is completely impacted by that hillside designation where it's greater than 30% slopes.
Okay. I guess I'd recommend it in the future that the staff report, if it's identified, like we just talked about these things.
Okay.
Just address and talk about how that's resolved. Don't leave anything that we have to guess about.
Thank you.
And my last comment would be my typical comment about water allocation. How many times do I get to say we're reducing from 8 lots to 1 lot? So our water allocation.
You're saving.
Is what a good thing. That was just a comment I wanted to make.
Larry, if I can offer, and I think this is about the same, I know several months ago, the applicant and I think another person that came forward and he wanted to buy the lot for himself and they wanted to divide it up, and Park and Recs did come out and they had that recommendation at that time with all of that good stuff. So we might have to either bring that forward or maybe go back and review it again, but yeah, that was there at that time.
Well, I was
You're
I
right.
was gonna say here in the packet, it said something about that all the requirements had already been met for park and sites and open space.
So, so as far as land dedication, so we either have land dedication or fees in lieu when new subdivisions come. So since this is a part of Top of Paradise Master Plan, those requirements have already been met with previous filings. So as far as, fees in lieu or land dedication, these applicants are not required to do any of that.
That's all I have for now.
Any other questions for staff at this time? The applicant, we invite the applicant to come forward and have any comments or presentation.
So my name is Craig Nelson and I'm representing the applicants tonight. They were rear-ended at high speed down in the Springs this afternoon, and Fee's in the hospital and Terry's with her. But they just wanted you to know that they're happy to be in the community. They moved in May and they're looking to build their forever home, up on the lot here. And CJ covered everything that I think is pertinent to the application.
Are they okay? Sorry. Are they gonna be okay?
I don't know yet. I think so. Yeah,
Okay. That's the important thing.
that's what I told Terry, just take care of Fee. So I'll come tonight. I don't know if this is pertinent or not, but some of the background here is this is part of what Will Brown was developing up there in the Top of Paradise, and it's subject to the Metropolitan District. So it's subject to different rules and things like that. So, and as CJ was saying, this is part of that master plan. And it's just getting peeled off from that in one lot instead of 8.
I appreciate you coming up
Okay.
and representing them.
Welcome.
Any questions for at this time? The applicant? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. We're gonna go through the public hearing process, so we will open comment to the public and listen to those comments, close the public comment, ask the applicant or the representative opportunity to provide rebuttal or additional comment at that time. And there may be some additional questions from commission at that point. So CJ, do we have anybody in the audience coming forward? Please come forward, give us your name and address.
Julie Jabay, 1151 Kings Crown Road. And I've lived there 30 something years when it was a dirt road. Anyways, I am very concerned about erosion and just managing the build out part because it is so steep right behind my house and where those, I think it was that dark part is that gentleman mentioned. I'm just wondering kind of at this point if they have an idea of like where the house will sit on those 11 acres because there's just nothing holding up anything on those cliffs. I mean, there's I just walk behind my house and there's like little mini avalanches, it's just very steep. It's very dry. Just little vegetation. We've lost a lot of vegetation all around the whole neighborhood, but I'm just very concerned about where the house is going to sit and if there's going to be thoughtfulness or mitigation for the areas that are really steep. So that's all.
Thank you.
Okay.
Well, wait till we finish the public hearing and we'll bring you back up. Any other comments from the audience? CJ, do we have anybody online or is that a bad subject?
No, we did have one person online, but they have since disappeared. So there was somebody attending virtually.
Okay, so no one out in
Zoom land.
Zoom land, so, again, final opportunity to make comment. I guess we'll ask the applicant. We'll close the public comment and have the applicant or the representative, make comment.
CJ, can you pull up that? Yeah, so I don't know how to point to it, but see the finger up in the top? Yeah, if you could do that. So that's the access off of Kings Crown Road. And the driveway, do you remember where the driveway is, CJ, to show? Yeah, it's coming up here. A little to the left. Yeah, keep coming down. Keep coming, yeah. And then hook around now to the bottom right. That's close enough. That's about where the house is gonna go. So, yeah, I mean, they have the all-star team of architects and builders and everything, so it'll be a very cautious build. The drainage will be attended to. There'll be a lot less drainage and erosion than if 8 lots were gonna go in there. But that's basically where the driveway is gonna go. They're working with JR Engineering, who's done a ton of engineering around here. And they know how to handle, stormwater and erosion and stuff like that. So it'll be a professional build.
Can you show me on there where my house will be?
Can you go,
Like.
can you go back to that one with all the neighbors lot, CJ? Yeah, that one. So where's your house about?
Right there.
Yeah, you're on a real steep side there. Yeah, so they'll be pushed back from that. There won't be anything on your,
It'll be right.
but way high, yeah. And it'll be moved back from where it starts to slope down.
Based on what Mr. Nelson was describing, where I had the mouse sitting there just a minute ago, I believe is about where their build site is. And on this particular 11-acre lot, when you looked at that topo, this is like the flatter spot in the lot for them. And so, yeah, I appreciate.
You too, I understand.
Yeah. Yeah, and
Understand.
yeah, they're gonna push back from where the hillside starts coming down. For many reasons, but
I just hope that's managed well.
I'm sorry,
I just hope that's managed well,
it will be.
because it takes, long time for trees to grow and vegetation to grow.
Any other questions?
Commissioners, anything? The applicants, representative? All right, thank you. Karen or CJ, clarify, we have the map showing the grades and the shaded areas. And what, I'm assuming there's some restrictions on building in those zones. Could you
Correct,
just
yeah,
Clarify what those are.
30% grades, typically in we have a driveway standard as well, and it cannot exceed 17%
On the slope of the driveway.
on the slope of the driveway. So,
You're
So-
prohibited from building in the slopes of 30 degrees, is that what you said?
I don't know that you're prohibited, but there's definitely engineering required. Yes? This is where we need Dave.
yeah.
Is Nina on? Would she know?
I can tell you this, that if you look at the topo lines and how far spaced apart they are, as you follow it down towards Kings Crown's Road, there's houses down below there on slopes that are as steep as that dark area shows in the Kings
Yeah.
Crown area. So
Hers is-
they do build on those steep slopes in that neighborhood.
And they have significant erosion problems,
So
really bad.
I think
But
hers is one.
on this case, they're building on the flat section of the 11-acre lot or the flatter area.
They're correct, and the slope on the way up to the building site is less than 17%. In fact, it's less than 15%, for the sanitary sewer. Along the line that CJ had marked out. And it's gonna be private lines going down to the street. There's no city services on the property.
Any other questions or discussion?
Question of staff. During your review of the zoning development permit, you look at lot to lot drainage?
Yeah, so that's part of our zoning development permit stage. So every time someone applies for a single family residential, they do have to submit typically for a grading permit. And our engineer looks at that grading, erosion control, BMPs, things like that. So best management practices. So yeah, the city ensures all that is in place before any shovels hit the dirt.
There won't be any public drainage facilities built, but control mechanisms will be recommended.
Correct.
Okay.
Question for staff. Why Kings Crown subdivision, not Paradise subdivision number 12 or 14 or whatever?
We had a conversation with the applicant. It was up to them to name their own subdivision.
Fair enough.
We said
Just
you could
curious.
call it O'Malley subdivision, and this is what they came up with here, so.
Very good. Thank you.
Yes, I'd make an observation that Summit's had alluded to as well, from compared to eight lots down to one lot. Whether it's drainage, erosion issues, or most any other kind of impacts on neighbors it could be around, these should be lesser, by a great amount from that. I would expect, while being sensitive to erosion issues, that the neighborhood in general, we don't see them here because this is a better option for most people's viewpoint. So, with that in mind, I would support this application.
Are you making the motion?
Oh, okay.
Just.
If we're looking for motion, I have a shorter motion then. Planning Commission recommend to City Council approval of the Kings Crown preliminary plat to plat 11.3 acres into one lot, period.
I will second that.
Okay, thank you. Any discussion? Now we'd like to vote, please.
Vice Chair Brown,
Yes.
Tom Stelling,
Yes,
George Jones,
Yes.
Ken Kennedy,
Yes.
Larry Larson,
Yes,
Sean Nielsen,
Yes,
Cole Middleton.
As a neighboring resident, I will abstain.
Okay. And Chair Hartsfield.
Yes,
Motion passed 7-0.
very good. The second item for tonight has been rescheduled.
Or is being rescheduled.
We
Not quite yet.
don't have a date yet.
Not a firm date.
Okay,
We're honing in on one.
that closes our public hearings and it takes us to reports. Anything, Steph?
I don't have anything of real substance. One of y'all, Vice Chair Brown had reminded me that he'd asked for a copy of the STR ordinance that council has placed on the ballot. So I'll be getting that out to all of you shortly so that you can take a look at that. And then otherwise, just thank you for your kindness and grace with our technical difficulties here this evening. Our apologies. It's always lovely when the system does things behind your back. Because CJ would tell you that earlier this afternoon, everything was there and then it vaporized. And then our next meeting is not until the second Thursday of December, since Thanksgiving falls on what would otherwise be a meeting night. So
we're not gonna meet.
Do you guys want to?
Bring your turkey.
So I
What's
believe
that date?
that's December 14th. I think December 14th would be your next meeting.
And that's the last meeting of the year.
That is the last meeting of the year. So,
We have agenda items for that evening.
yeah, oh yeah. I got all kinds of stuff stacked up for a while to come here. Got some nice
Oh.
juicy items coming up.
Oh, good, something to look forward to.
snacks and sleeping bags and.
Cole may have second thoughts.
Going from commission. 7:11, meeting's adjourned.
Even with tech.
Pretty quick.
Oops. hang on.